use state housing because they need to, for the security and the safety of their families. This is a punitive bill and Labor will not support it. Thank you, Mr Speaker.
Good speech.
Jan Logie.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. The Green Party also fundamentally opposes this social housing reform bill. And we oppose it because we believe in homes, not just houses. And we believe that homes are important to the foundations of our society. We oppose this bill because we know if we have a good, warm, dry, affordable homes for everyone, we will all benefit through reduced health costs, improved educational outcomes and improved economic productivity. We believe this because the evidence tells us this. We oppose this bill because we honestly value the tangata whenua and community and voluntary sector, and we recognise that they have a lot to contribute to community housing through their own value base and not being turned into arms of the state, which is what this bill attempts to do. We oppose this bill because we do not believe that the Ministry of Social Development or Work and Income will improve services for people needing housing support. In fact, we fear the opposite. We oppose this bill because we think the priority is building community, not temporary shelter. And I've spoken already in relation to this bill about most of my adult life being in rental housing and the costs of that to me economically as well as in terms of increased stress. But I was really lucky to spend my childhood in one house, in a place with big garden, fruit trees, 3 bedrooms, and it was warm and dry. And I got to go through the same schools, the primary school, the intermediate and the secondary school, with consistency. I didn't have to move between my schools. And none of my friends had to move either. In my childhood, none of my friends moved house. And that is such a contrast to the reality of so many children now. When we see in South Auckland the turnover in private rentals being on average 4 families a year, that we hear about schools where there's 100% churn in the population of that school. Those children have lost the childhood that we had. They've been taken away from the stability of a continuous education and a peer group. They don't have the childhood that we had. And what this bill does is makes that even more precarious, that the lives of children, even in state housing, is now being threatened. And I want to remind that side of the House that it was first a Liberal government that recognised the importance of state housing because they saw that the growing reports of extortionate rents and squalid living conditions required them to intervene to protect our society, to provide some basic decent standards. And that very vision is being eroded by this government and by this bill. And I think it's an absolute shame and a change of our national values, and shame on this government. I think the Green Party, as an alternative, have a vision in terms of the state's role. And I was recently meeting, and I know housing is of such a concern to our communities. I was speaking with a cleaner in Wellington Hospital recently who was just asking what can be done because they want to get out of extortionate rents in the private market. And I told him that, well, our answer is about more secure tenure, the opposite to what this government is doing, and the idea of a rent-to-own property, where the government's ability to access low interest rates could be passed on to New Zealanders so that New Zealanders can be provided with secure tenure and the ability to own in the future. And I hope New Zealand will vote in the future for that vision, a vision of community and all of us having a decent standard of living, and not this dystopian vision.
Jamie Lee Ross.
Mr Speaker, this bill has been canvassed a lot for many, many hours last night. I simply want to say that when the opposition accuses this government of not recognising the importance of state housing,